So, hi.
Hey.
Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about critical literacy and the election cycle. So, before we get started, what is your name and your profession?
Hey, I'm René Lofland, and I am a social media marketer.
Awesome. And what is your political affiliation?
I am a registered Democrat.
Okay. So, jumping into it, what is your favorite news source to use and why do you use it?
So typically, I love NPR. I don't usually stop there though. I like NPR because it's thought provoking. So they'll say stuff, and I'll go, "Huh, interesting." And if I feel like it's, like very dramatically presented, I'm like, "Okay, this is something I need to look up to find out facts." And I like it too because I can listen to it on the radio, and then I also find it on social media. So I'll find their articles there as well. So I tend to really like that,
Yeah.
but I just like I don't just stop there.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, and that kind of fed into my next question, which is about fact checking. Do you fact check your source? And if you do, what are your strategies? And if you don't, why do you feel it's reliable?
So when it's something that I clearly don't know what the real like what's going on, let's say Russia and Ukraine, like I need to know what actually occurred. And so I'll hear a report on it and I'll go, oh, okay, so I don't have the backstory. So I'll go and I'll first just search Google and I'll look at the the names of the report. So I had this conversation with my daughter yesterday trying to figure out because a lot of the news outlets will use the same source. And so even though it's not NPR, let's say it's an AP source or an AP outlet, AP is still the source, right? So you're getting the same news story, just like they'll take it and then they'll adapt it kind of to fit the way that they do their reporting. So that's like I try to look at where the actual source is. I also have history teacher friends that I ask honestly because they've kind of done the work for me. But in all fairness, I still go and I look. And then I do this maybe unexpected thing. So I have subscribed to Trump's stuff
Mm-hmm.
to see what they're saying about things
Okay.
because I can go in my email and I'll have the Biden thing and right after it, I don't know how the timing gets done like that, is the Trump thing. And it'll be on the same topic and it'll be like completely different aspects of the same thing. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So somewhere in the middle is the truth. And so that's when that's when I actually go and search and try to see what I can find out. So I end up, um, like I like to see stuff from the New York Times, and then I'll look at the Washington Post, and then I'll ask my history teacher friend also for like what actually occurred here, and then I get the very insightful thing because this is a person I've trusted for years. But the sources that I look at, I'm looking at, I'll consider what NPR has said, and I'll consider these other sources as well, just trying to see what's repeated, like objectively, what do I hear over and over again? And then I kind of look at what are things that could be interpreted, because if you say, oh, I love red, then someone says, oh, well, then you hate orange. Like, that's not what I said. That's not the truth in there. I just was only talking about red. So somewhere in the middle is where the actual truth is. So that's what I'm trying to see, like, what are the patterns of what's being said by both to see what actually happens. So I would like to know why all the time, but the why isn't always mine to know. So I am trying to find out like what happened and then what's the significance of it moving forward. Like what happens now. So.
Oh. So, with all that being said, how do you feel about social media and how they contribute to the sharing of information, especially during an election cycle?
So that is dangerous. And I'm saying that from a social media perspective because people like easy and they'll see something and think, oh, well, that headline is true. And they won't read the article. And social media is set up to be attention grabbing and it's meant to hook you and it's meant to be a little bit abrasive or curiosity inducing or like instigating things. So you'll read whatever it is or do the thing that they're talking about or listen to them. And so knowing that, the last time we had elections, Facebook was very unregulated, and anybody could post anything. Even with their process of being approved for political postings or ads that you run. So a lot of misinformation was shared, a lot, over and over again. And whether it was by actual candidates or if it was by bots, you would have no way of knowing. Not at that time. And so people would believe what they were reading. Also, we all became really good at code words. So you would hear anti this, pro that, and know what side somebody was on. And then you would go, oh, okay, those are my people. Or you would see God and guns, or you would see something that was very liberal, and you would go, oh, okay, well then those are my people, and you would kind of like go with whatever information was there, and people wouldn't fact check. They just like most people don't even look at things. I deal with this all the time in social media where someone I'm like, you can't make claims. You can't do this. You have to be objective when you say things. And then you can say, I feel, if you want to be subjective. And people want to shortcut that and say that things are in a very black and white way where it's, truth because they felt it. Like, nah, you can't do that. So, social media is a great tool for getting information out to people, but what's the quality of that information? So I think without a clear, either a rigorous process or a consistent one or a system or something where whatever is being said is verified by those parties. So if it's like on behalf of a candidate, that the candidate's office is owning that information, then how do you know it's actually true? So I think that there's the piece that's missing and it's still not resolved yet in social media. And that's bothersome to me because I want, if you've got a source that's so accessible, it ought to be like you ought to be able to count on it being accurate.
Right.
So I still think it's a bit dangerous.
All right, and kind of going off of that, how do you feel that accurate information? How do you feel about it being conveyed during an election cycle? Like how important it is to have that accurate information?
Okay, so this is probably the real question. It is vitally important for it to be accurate. I think in no election have we ever voted on accurate information, that we sort of aggregate what we feel is most likely right, or we're picking an issue to vote on. I would love for the information to be accurate without the other side slinging stuff at, that's distracting to the people who are voting. But it's the psychopath's game or sociopath's game, right? Where the people who are voting aren't even, it's not about them, it's about winning something. So accurate information would be the shift that would happen. Voters would actually know, and if that information were quickly accessible. So a lot of people they're not spending all their time researching stuff about politics. They're just like before they go into to vote, they're checking over to make sure of, or they're looking for recommendations from an organization that they trust, and they haven't done the research themselves because it's so time consuming and you never know if you've got the right piece of information. And did this person do that 10 years ago, or have they reformed? Like, you don't know. Very, very difficult. So I would love for accurate information during an election cycle to be possible. That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. And as we're wrapping up, do you have any final tips or final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Just vote. Gosh, like look something up. But truly, like you do have to be on the alert, and you have to, if you already have an inclination, like just make sure. Just put a little time into it to make sure.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks.